So there's not many times we see on social media a player publicly responds to a tweet by a reporter. Now, obviously, love James. You know, all the respect in the world for James and Cincinnati Bengals talk. But listen, this wasn't even his article, but he reposted an article written by Jay Morrison of Sports Illustrated. And, you know, he's just doing his job, right? He's just helping out another fellow reporter who posted an article. He also works for Sports Illustrated. No big deal. They're talking about cap casualties, right? Players that the Bengals can cut, save some money, and, you know, potentially move on from to get this contract done with T and get some contract done with some other guys. So it makes perfect sense. Like the article, I don't know trashing the article or trashing James, but Germaine Pratt responded and he said, clown emoji, obviously calling the whole situation clowns, because the cap casualty, you guessed it, does include Germaine Pratt. So let's get into this article, because obviously it's the names we all know, okay? Sam Hubbard, yes, we're probably going to end up cutting Sam Hubbard. Doesn't mean he can't come back for less money, right? It doesn't mean we can't get him back for a cheaper contract potentially. But for what he's going for right now, we'd save $9.5 million if we cut him. I love Sam Hubbard more than anything. I never want to see him going. But I think this situation is definitely going to be a situation where we end up moving on from him. And maybe bring him back. But at this moment in time, $9.5 million against the cap that we would be saving is really hard to not to say, yup, GG, goodbye. That's number one. Sheldon Rankins, is unfortunate, the situation, because I was really excited when we signed him, but it's another guy that simply, listen, the money is just not going to work out. He has 1 year left in his contract. We would save $8.6 million cap hit by getting rid of him. Clearly, he has something wrong with his eye. There was an infection. There was an illness. And we don't know if he'll ever play football again. We don't know. He missed a lot of this season. We don't know if he'll play next season. We can't afford to mess around and find out, as they would say, or F around and find out. So you just got to cut ties and move on. And then another guy that I really wish worked out, but hey, listen, it didn't. So this is another obvious one. Cappa. Yeah. No, this is 1,000%. We save $8 million. Again, another guy, I think. Again, like, these are all cap casualties that we know and understand. Germaine Pratt is an interesting one. Because while I do agree, right, we save $5.9 million, and that's a good amount of money. And yes, this season, definitely he was not the greatest. He got destroyed in coverage over and over again. Outran by pretty much everybody. Kind of a lackluster tackler. Did have a good year tackling, but did miss a lot of tackles. It's one of those situations where I'm going to say no, and I don't think we should cut him because we just don't have the linebacker depth. If we had the linebacker depth, then I'd say 100%, yeah, let's maybe consider it, right? $5.8 million, if you have the linebacker depth, potentially. But you just don't. At the end of the day, we don't have it. Moma Jagmita, even though we didn't play him much this year, he's a free agent. He only signed an undrafted contract for 1 year. We don't have him back. Joseph Asai might be gone. Joe Bacci might be gone. Right now, if everything goes against us, the only guys we have on the roster guaranteed are Logan Wilson and Germaine Pratt at the linebacker position. We're in a very weird spot where we just don't have the linebacker depth to look at $5.9 million and say, yep, let's get rid of this guy. And also, I do believe, and I really do like Germaine Pratt. I've always, if you go back to my video 2 years ago, I was the guy defending it that we should keep him and we shouldn't get rid of him. I was the guy saying we should give him a new contract. We should give him this 3-year deal. I was the guy who was preaching for this guy. And I will still preach for him 100% because I do like Germaine Pratt. But I will say, I think if we get a really good defensive coordinator like Al Golden and he comes to town, we might see a big revival out of a lot of these players. We got rid of our defensive line coach. We got rid of, again, Lou Anarumo, which I have my opinions on that. But at the end of the day, we got rid of these guys. We're going to get a whole new unit in here. And it might rejuvenate or boost up some of these players' careers. I'm not saying Germaine Pratt's going to automatically go from, 0 to hero, but I think that he could be a lot better if he was in a better position with not only the coaching, but also other players around him. So I'm going to say right now, no. We kind of can't cut this guy. We gotta have to work with him and figure something out. There are players on this defense that have potential to be really good, and I think they will be really good, but we have to kind of home in on it, right? There is a lot of talent on this defense. Geno Stone, absolutely no. I think this is the worst take I've seen so far. There's no way you're cutting Geno Stone. Geno Stone is 26 years old. Yeah, he started off the season piss poor, but he ended it with getting interception every single game except for the last one. And I don't see the situation where you can afford to get rid of Geno Stone at the end of the day. Mainly because, again, you need some type of veteran in this secondary. And this secondary is so young, and 26 isn't old either. He's going to be 27 next season. But even that's not old. But at the end of the day, you need some type of veteran leadership, number one. Number two, again, he started looking better in the end of the year. And number three, you're not going to get a guy who potentially, with a new defense coordinator, new secondaries coach, new everything. Actually, no, I think we have still the same secondaries coach. But it's always possible that Al Golden comes in and replaces everyone. That's usually what defense coordinators do. They come in and they say, okay, these are my guys. Get out everybody else. Anyway, not all the time, but sometimes they do. But maybe in a new defense, he's going to thrive even better. We saw him thrive in Baltimore. So I would give him another year. I'd give him his last year of his contract, and I think he could be a very good option. If he can continue his success, get a new defense, and hopefully figure that out. He's only 26. So I disagree. I don't think we would cut him, or we should cut him in any way. Zack Moss comes down to a couple different things. Number one is, how bad is his neck injury? That's what really matters more than anything. It's kind of like the Sheldon Rankins thing. Because Zack Moss, one, he's 27, will be 28 going into the season. He'll still have like another 1-2 years left. He's an amazing pass blocker. He's really great at, helping out our lackluster offensive line. He gives Joe Burrow more time to throw the ball. And all those things are great. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like the Sheldon Rankins thing. How bad is his neck injury? What's the situation given there? Are we going to be able to have him back? And if you're not, then yeah, you're probably going to cut him. You're probably just going to save $3.3 million. You're looking at a really good, talented, young draft class coming up when it comes to the running back position. There are some options in free agency at the running back position as well. So yeah, you're probably just saying, hey, let's just cut our losses here and probably move on. But again, it depends on how his neck injury. If he's like, hey, listen, my neck's fine after going to this offseason, like the summer and training camp, then I'd say maybe give him a chance, see what he can do. But our next guy on this list, and the last guy they have, is Evan McPherson. I completely disagree with this 100%. Cade York, while yes, very ecstatic for his positive time here, there was also some negatives, but for the most part, it was positive. And I'm very ecstatic that he was, it was good. It looked good. But at the end of the day, he also did miss some field goals. And Evan McPherson is our kicker. You know, it's not like a Brad Robbins situation here. Evan McPherson definitely did not have the greatest year, but again, Cade York, when he came in, didn't look that good either. Remember, he's the one who missed the game-winning field goal chip shot versus the Broncos. That our season's on the line, and that guy missed it. So, and potentially could have knocked us out of the playoffs right there. So just keep in mind, Cade York, it's not his job, but I think what you need to do, right, because you're not going to cut Evan McPherson. What you're going to do, you got to bring in 3 kickers into training camp next year. Or sorry, well, actually later this year. You need to bring in 3 kickers. Cade York, Evan McPherson, and then you bring in a 3rd rando, okay? And that's how you get it done. You test them out through training camp, have them do the preseason, and that's how you figure out who your kicker is moving forward. Now, Evan McPherson has a little sway here because he just signed a contract, right? He just signed a 2-year deal. So I think, in all honesty, you can't decide who your kicker is right now. You can't just cut Evan McPherson. Oh, well, Cade York's our guy. Well, you don't know how good Cade York's going to be. I mean, Cade York clearly, hot girlfriend, very much hot girlfriend, but I don't know if he's going to work out in the end, right? So you have to figure something out where you give yourself as many options as possible. And, you know, in this, when it comes to kicking, the more options, the better. When it comes to like preseason and training camp, when it comes to figuring out who's the best, the more options you have, the better, right? Tell me down below your thoughts, opinions. See you guys in the next one.